And Nicole, I just sent him an info, this is my backup.
Sorry, I'm late.
You're fine.
You know, it had some IT issues,
No problem.
which I helped resolve.
Nicole, I emailed you over all the minutes as a backup, so you have them.
Yeah, I got that. No,
Yeah, I just listened to the Teams call, but that, I think that'll help just to,
Yeah, I wanted to just weigh in what you wanted, if you wanted just the summarized version or the actual full transcript. So I'll send you both from now on.
yeah, no, that's.
so everyone has what the
It's gonna come from the
agenda and
you
minutes.
probably feel, or you probably.
If anybody would like those.
So I guess we're just going to approve the minutes.
It's going around. Okay, I'll come back to you. Okay, if that's on.
We're on.
Okay, so call to order at 9:40. So I'll briefly go through the minutes. If anyone has any questions, just stop me. Call to order at 10:35. We reviewed the minutes from the previous meeting. We made one revision as to the time that we adjourned. I shared Christine shared a contact list with the group. We'll update the information and share via PDF. The agricultural farm land and board protection board bylaws was discussed. Several revisions were suggested. Those are being gathered together and will be presented at future meetings for vote. We had 7 ag district applications as of the meeting on April 30th, as everyone knows what came in. Christine will schedule 2 visits for each farm. Christine proposed changing the next meeting to May 21st at 9:30. Dave was the only one opposed. We reviewed the memo from Chairwoman Sage, made a motion to nominate Nicole as secretary, passed unanimously because nobody else wants the job. Ruby shared a new Putnam County Farms brochure. There were some public comments and the meeting was adjourned at 11:51. Does anyone have any issues with it? And we have a motion to accept as
Second.
all in favor? So it passes. Okay, so we're gonna get right to the ag district applications. So how I would like this to go is that we'll go through each farm and the public is welcome, if they're recognized, to have part of the discussion, knowing that we're gonna run through this quickly. We're gonna give like 8 minutes for each farm, perhaps a little bit more if time allows. Please only speak if the farm that we're talking about, if it's pertinent to the farm we're talking about. Okay, so we're gonna start with, we had 11 applications. So Artemis Farm, that was a mistake. They didn't need, well, they meant to apply for something else. They're in the district already, so thank you for applying. No, I spoke to them already.
So maybe we should just say.
Well,
Public record.
I'll put it, yeah, I'll put it, I'll put it in there. Next one, we have Lobster Hill Farm. Does anybody have, before we allow the owners to speak, does anybody have any issues or recommendations or anything that they would like to say? I'd like to say that they applied last year and we approved them last year. Everybody knows what happened last year, so I think that they should be approved. Sorry, recommended. We're not approving anything. Let me start. Yeah, I have a little speech.
Man,
Yes,
as we go through these, I think that'll be helpful to me to have a quick review of what they are and what they're doing. And, just some highlight points along the way. I didn't get to the site meeting, but like a little bit extra.
I've been to them and it's hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah, so.
So we have
let me
pictures,
review, okay?
we have comments that will identify.
And we also set up this meeting that would not necessarily hold to an hour, because that's why we changed it. I'm not in a hurry.
so 11,
Yeah.
You are.
and as am I.
Well,
sorry.
that's
I want,
tough.
I want to back up a little. As the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board, it is our responsibility to assess each applicant of whether it merits inclusion into the agricultural district. Violations or issues with the town, things like that, are not within our scope. That's in the next phase, physical services, and then the next phase after that. So we are tasked with using our expertise, experience, and education to determine whether or not this is a viable farm. There are certain criteria, and I wanted to make sure that we understand there's a difference between a hobby farm and a commercial farm. Commercial farm doesn't mean that it brings in tens of millions of dollars a year. It has a commercial component. They have a business plan. They hopefully belong to farming organizations. They seek higher education in what they do. The financially vested. They have a sales. Hobby farms are basically just for the family that's running it, and that's not part of the agricultural district. And it also, the agricultural district is to protect farms from the public. So if you have a farm and somebody moves in next door, being in the ag district helps prevent the city dweller that moved in next door saying, your chickens are too loud. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that. That's mostly from the law and from speaking with Jeff Keogh. Okay, so Lobster Hill Farm is 75 acres. They have goats and poultry for eggs and meat. And they also breed pigs for meat. It's a regenerative farm. It raises pasture, protein. So the chickens are on pasture as well. They're not locked up in a commercial hen house, which is also a farm. I just want to say that. The animals, they use rotational grazing with solar powered electric fencing, pardon me, to keep them where they belong. And they practice good parasite and pest management. There is a business plan attached, and as well as they got a grade A from the Division of Food Safety and Inspection. Has everyone signed it? So they got a grade A from Food Safety, which we're happy to hear. Does anybody have anything else that you want to add or say?
For the record, we received from the legislature a delineation for wetlands, including their that was forwarded to the board members. So that's on the record that we received that.
Didn't we also get something from Town of Patterson? And they gave opinions on the different farms, and they were very positive towards lobster.
But again, that is not supposed to come in to whether or not we agree if they're recommended as a farm.
So violations, we don't consider anymore. I thought,
No, and we never did.
I was under the impression if they were, and I'm not saying, I'm speaking as a whole. I was under the impression that if that was part of it, if they have a violation, they're not applicable. And I can check with law. I'm just telling you what I was under the impression as a legislator, what I was told. So we can check with law. And Barb, I don't know if you want to weigh
I
in.
believe
That's
that's true.
I thought
Yeah.
that was the case as well.
I was told that that's at the next
Nope,
phase.
that's also in our consideration from what and I'll get it from legal.
Because that, what I was told from state ags and markets, that's not supposed to come into consideration. If you're referring to 139,
I'm referring to as a whole, even from
okay,
the state. If they're in violation at all with the town, again, I'm not legal, so I don't want to, but I just want to say that from guidance that I was given in the past, that there's a current violation, we were not to consider them. That's what I was told.
okay, I was told differerly.
Ag and markets is not law and law is not ag and markets. So
Ag and markets is a law, section 3.
no, they're not. I just mean they're not lawyers. That's what I'm saying. So that's what I was told. So that's, we can get,
Okay, I was told that it moves on to the next step and they decide whether or not our job, as it was explained to me several times, is that the agricultural board is supposed to use, as I said, their expertise, their experience, and their education to determine whether or not is a farm. And then the next step is where they determine whether or not they want to let them into agricultural district. We don't let them into agricultural district. We determine if it's a farm, if it's a commercial, viable farm.
You're correct, but in part of that consideration is if it is a viable farm that meets with standards.
The standards of a farm.
Standards of a farm, including their operations. So.
Correct.
For their operations, but if they have violations on the property, that should play into how their operations are working. So it's just a consideration. It's not
Well,
the.
Just a question for this year, do any of the farms have any violations?
So then
So we can table it, we can figure it out for
I
next
thought
one.
one of them did or no?
no.
No. Not a concern for Lobster Hill or any.
Yeah, no, I was just
this year.
speaking.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Yeah.
in the future, when you have time and you ask the legal department, please copy me on that memo.
sure.
Thank you. Okay, so are we ready to vote on Lobster Hill? Do we need more discussion?
We're gonna let them speak before I interrupt at the beginning.
I will let them speak if they have anything to say. Do you guys have anything you'd like to say?
I don't think I have any additional things that I want to say. Is there any questions that we can clear up for anybody?
So I think the stuff that was forwarded to you from what the DEC provided me in regard to the wetlands and the water, the Class C stream that runs through our property. It's all,
And their preference for livestock
Yeah.
grazing in their wetlands instead of use of equipment.
I think that was all pretty straightforward.
That was a good thing that you sent out.
Yeah, we invited them in, and as we've, I have talked to the town. I went and sat and talked with Nick Durante, supervisor, addressing some concerns. I know there was a letter from April 4th sent to the legislature from the town of Southeast. I don't believe the ag board got it. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But did you guys get the
No, not
letter?
from Southeast.
Okay. So there was a letter sent on April 4th from the town of Southeast that had some concerns in regard to not specifically us, just farming in Southeast. I did go sit down with Nick Durante. Nick Durante did come the day that you would come over as well, Christine. Just to address some concerns, very similar to what we've seen over the last year. The town code in many ways, as I showed Mr. Durante, that the town code actually protects us from a lot of the same things already. So noise, smell, me, I'm not up at 6 o'clock in the morning turning equipment on. Plus there's trucks that go to school that are louder than most of my equipment. So we're very much aligned with the town at this point. Obviously you guys have had the opportunity to see what we're doing and what we're trying to expand to, which is a lot of physical labor. But it's fun. That's my workout besides chasing the kids around. So outside of that, I'm very happy to be applied again and of consideration. And I think that's it. Everything else has been said. So.
Yes,
I'm sorry I wasn't able to make any site visits because I was away, but I do know you guys do an outstanding job and a lot for the community. And I'm thankful for your patience in coming back and reapplying. And I look at your farm every day. I may be through Facebook, but I do get to see your operations and things that are going on. So I'm very appreciative of it all.
Thank you. And if I, one more quick comment to your point about the community. We have, since we've been there, we've started working with Second Chance Foods. We work with Putnam County CAP as well. All of that stuff that was going into the trash, right? We're trying to be as much a part of the community as possible. Matter of fact, we have some people who work for Putnam County CAP who come drop their scraps off to us on a weekly basis as well. That all gets fed out to the animals or goes into compost. So our biggest goal outside of providing the food that we raise is just honestly to be part of the community. That's really our biggest goal. And we're slowly getting there, and we're getting, talking to more of our community members and stuff like that. So thank you.
okay, we'll do a roll call. Erin, yes or no?
Yes.
Wait, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Ruby,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Trish.
Yes.
Me, yes. Nicole,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
Elizabeth or Betsy?
I'm called Betsy, but I always sign Elizabeth, and officially and professionally I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. And David.
Yes.
Okay, unanimously recommended to be included in that district. Thank you. Next, we have Cucumber Hill. Justin. Hi. Okay, so this is Justin, for those of you who haven't been to the farm. He owns almost 29 acres. Right now, he's currently farming on 3. He has a lot of chickens.
400.
He has a lot of chickens, eggs, so it's meat and eggs. You also have an apiary, right?
Yes.
Yes, he also has an apiary. The eggs alone, in my opinion, he does a very good job managing them. They're enclosed, but they're free ranging, and he moves the pastures around. He has a variety of breeds, and as he moves the pastures around, it obviously helps with the soil maintenance. And
Sells it to local businesses.
what do you sell them?
To residents directly, but also through Hemlock Hill Farm, Hudson Milk, Marble Meat Shop, through local quality food purveyors. And money.
Yeah, just is the apiary is bees. So you've been in business about 3 years, 4 years,
About 2 years,
2 years?
just over, yeah.
And he also has duck eggs. He does a deep litter bedding method, whereas you just keep adding litter, and then twice a year, usually you pull it out and finish composting it, and you can use it as compost, which is very sustainable. Is that the right one? Anybody have any questions either for them or just to discuss in general? No? Okay, then I'd like to just get right on to the vote. Erin?
Okay, great.
Yep, thank you.
Just checking, did check.
Ruby?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Trish?
Yes.
Me is yes. Nicole?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay, unanimously agree to recommend them to be included in the Act District. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have the Rush Family Farm. They have 33 acres and they have Christmas trees. They planted about 250 this year,
Yes.
about 250 this year. They cleared an area to put those in, and as anyone who knows Christmas trees, it takes a couple of years before you see any revenue from the first planting. So it would take a couple of years before he's doing any kind of revenue. The idea is to have live Christmas trees, some potted Christmas trees, some wreaths and garlands. Am I missing anything?
No, it's fine.
We did get a business plan from me,
Yep,
so
there is a business plan here with the mission statement and stuff.
rotation, expansion, so.
Frank, is there anything you'd like to tell us?
Just I appreciate you guys, I think the time to review our plans, and we're very hopeful this year. We're gonna try to plant 3 acres per year for the next 9 to 10 years, try to get to our goal. So that on a rotational basis, as we sell these trees, we can, as we harvest, we can replant, and we'll have a sustainable crop from them forward.
Is there any question?
Any other operation on the land?
I'm
Just trees?
I have some maple trees that I like to maybe consider topping. Maybe I can talk to some of the farmers that do the maple work, but the goal right now is the Christmas trees.
Okay, ready for a vote? Is everyone okay? Okay, Erin,
Yes.
Ruby,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Trish,
Yes.
me is a yes, Nicole,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Elizabeth, yes. Dave. Okay, they are unanimously recommended to be included in that district. Congratulations. Thank you for your application. Okay, next we have White Oak Apiary. So this one is located on a little over an acre on Rooster Hill Road in Brewster. However, he is a farmer on Gage Road with, I think, 30 acres.
Exactly.
So he has the bulk of his honey operation over on Gage Road. And when we visited him, he said that his main goal in getting included in Ag District for this parcel is to put his farm stand out and sell via that. He used to have his farm stand on 312 over by Pugsley Road, and then when they started doing the construction, they told him he had to move. So anyone who's familiar with the area knows that Gage Road does not have a whole lot of traffic for a farm stand to be out. So he feels that on Brewster Hill Road, there's a lot more traffic, and it would be more successful for him to have his farm stand there. So he's got a couple of hives there, and he's also starting a vegetable garden. He wrote down here orchard. Did we talk about orchard while we were there? Did anyone, who else went to visit him? Oh, Betsy, you were there.
Yeah, I think that he had a whole bunch of plots coming in on the side, but that he had some fruit trees on the top of. I think that's what I recall.
Actively farming this land right now, or is it a proposed?
No,
what
he's
doing?
got hives there, and the vegetable it's new. I think it's 2 years old.
He's got a couple in already and he's got the next one ready to go.
He's preparing the rest of the rest.
And I understand the fees are being.
So the farm stand, he's going to sell
This honey and vegetables.
vegetables.
How large is the vegetable area?
About half an
Large.
acre, a little bit more than half an acre. That's what he said. I don't know.
That's what, like, there's a half acre of vegetable.
He's got substantial.
Yeah,
crops
a lot of
in there.
them also, they were sort of looked like he was putting in permanent beds.
Yes,
And he had a lot of fruits in there also, blueberries,
Yeah.
strawberries.
Yeah.
Right there.
Did he have it protected from you?
yes. Yes, he did. Very nicely done too.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I know the fencing looked good. And the application says 67 acres behind them.
No, it's that, the property behind him is not his.
Oh, right.
That's already in that.
But he is
So
surrounded.
he's surrounded on 3 sides by ag district land already, and on one side by county land, or is it town land? There's a little piece right in front, off to the side of his property, that's it's either town or county. So, but he's surrounded by agricultural land, agricultural district land.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, get right to the vote. Wait, aviary, Erin,
Come back to me.
okay. Ruby,
Yes.
Barbara, Trish,
Yes.
me, I'm a yes. Nicole,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Betsy,
Yes.
and Dave,
I'm gonna abstain from this one.
that's fine.
I'll say yes.
I love that.
Okay, so
Sorry, what was your vote?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll give you this paper when I'm done.
Oh, okay, so.
Nicole taking diligent.
Oh,
No, I'm recording.
So there's 9 yeses and 1 abstain, so he gets recommended to be put in the ag district.
I just have a little quick question about farming in general.
Mhm.
Does it, as I understand it, if you're a farm, you don't need to have contiguous property. You can
Correct.
have a farm in separate locations.
Yes.
That seems to me some of what this is.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also depends on what you're farming. So if it's horses, it's more often evaluated each individual piece. And I'm not sure, I think if it's meat stock, like cattle, sheep, goats, if that's for meat, I think it's the same as for crops. But yes, exactly, he has his farm elsewhere. I checked, it's in ag district, it's a sufficient piece. I know that he's been doing honey for many years.
And on top of that, the ag district is comprised of parcels. It's not farms. So each parcel is included in the district. So it can be either continuous or non-continuous.
Okay, next one is Bowen Farm. This is located on Bowen Road in Carmel. He has, so this one actually, he has two parcels listed. One parcel is already in the district. So the other parcel is basically what we're considering today. And it's, I believe it's about almost 27 acres, the parcel, 26.75. And that put, so the, he does some haying and mostly he does poultry, he does eggs and he does meat goats and he does hay. It's definitely the number of goats and the way he has it set up, it's definitely meat goats. It's not pet goats. It's not a hobby farm for goats. The chickens, I think he said that he had, I don't know if it was a raccoon or a fox got in, so he's got to replenish, which all the farmers have occasionally. So he has to replenish his chicken stock. He has the boar goats, which are good for meat.
Yes, it's hay, substantial amount of hay. He sells to other farmers and.
And he also gives fields to other people to
Yes.
use his property.
Yeah, pony and alpaca.
Alpacas, yeah.
So his future plan is to increase the egg production, especially now that it's a little decimated, and sell at farmers markets. And I don't remember did he say where he sells the meat now? Those are auctions. Oh, okay. So he says it goes to auctions.
Yes, we talked about that too, because ethnic communities are into goats, but he's quite fond of his goats and he doesn't like to see them shackled and thrown in the back seat. He feels better about taking them to the auction. It was interesting. He had a passion, he had a real passion.
And the ethnic slaughter can be unsettling.
Because it's ritual, right?
Mhm.
So he
Was
said,
it, sorry, was he allowing that on his property?
no,
No, that's why he was selling them for the
he
auction.
sent it to auction,
Alive.
you don't see
Mhm.
who buys them.
He doesn't have individuals coming in.
He said that his egg production is approximately 1,000 dozen a year. He sells to the local community. Oh, he does sell some meat birds for consumption. He plans to build, like I said, he build on his chicken production and add more the meat birds to it. He's not here. Anybody have any questions? Okay, let's get to the vote. Aaron.
Why'd you pick me to be first?
Have it in order.
I want to.
How do you want to reverse it?
Okay, we'll go backwards then. Sorry, Aaron.
I'm cheating. Yes.
Ruby,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Trish,
Yes.
yes, also Nicole,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
and Dave.
Yes.
Okay, so Bowen Farmers unanimously agreed to be put forward to be included in the ag district. Thank you for the time. Okay, next one is Clara Patonga Farm. It's located on 1.7 acres in Putt Valley. He definitely has the start of a farm. So he initially didn't include a business plan, but Ruby reached out to him and asked him, please send us one. So he does have, and we'll focus on sustainable practices and organic. He has a bunch of fruit trees planted. He has some vegetables. I definitely see a vision there. In my opinion, I don't think he's quite there. And one thing in his business plan, it keeps saying will, not I am. So that was my concern.
May I speak on behalf of them?
Sure.
I have a blurb, so sorry if I'm reading, but I just want to make sure I cover everything. So if an agriculture operation is determined to be a farm operation as defined by Ag and Markets Law, whether it is an existing or startup agricultural enterprise, it may be afforded protections under the Ag Markets Law if the land is also located within a county adopted state certified ag district. So in order to benefit from the protections that may be afforded under Ag and Markets Law, I urge you to vote to include Clara Petunga Farm within the ag district. I think we can all agree that Clara Petunga Farm qualifies as a farm operation, which includes the land and on-farm buildings, equipment, and practices which contribute to the production, preparation, and marketing of crops, including but not limited to fruits and apiary products. The Clara Petunga Farm is a startup farm operation, and startups are given specific considerations under Ag and Markets Law. Concerning protections afforded under Ag and Markets to farm operations, including startup farms, municipalities should allow a reasonable period of time to establish the farm operation and production of crops. For apiaries, that startup period is recommended to be 2 years, and for orchards and berries, that startup period is recommended to be 3 to 5 years. In determining whether a farm is a commercial operation, for startups, the department also evaluates a number of other factors, including but not limited to the landowner's intent, which is especially important for startup farms, the time and effort spent on farming, and whether the landowner has the knowledge necessary to carry on the farming activity as a successful business. The owner of Clara Petunga Farm has a bachelor's degree in agriculture, including extensive coursework in ag marketing, ag law, environmental law, and agricultural education. He also has farming experience working on an organic farm at Green Chimneys, as well as an extensive business plan to expand his enterprise. So your vote to recommend Clara Petunga Farm for inclusion in the ag district would directly support the promotion and protection of a startup family farm. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there a minimum acreage?
No. But with everything she said, we still have to distinguish between hobby and commercial. And so when we visited the farm, Fred and I visited at the same time. Did you show up? Yes.
I want the next.
The next time. He did understand that there's no fruit right now. And he's only selling to local neighbors.
Friends, basically.
Right. It's not, there's no real revenue sales. And he had one beehive, one got destroyed by a bear, but one beehive, it's kind of hard to really produce enough honey to bottle it and sell a substantial amount. But I think if he goes through with all the things that he told us he's gonna be doing within the next year he should have no trouble applying and being recommended to get in.
I have a question. Is this, I think I visited this last year. Is this the one
No,
you go down
it
the hill?
was not like.
No,
He's
this is the first time you
Okay.
guys applied.
There was one that was in last year.
To say downhill.
I know when you're down, but that was.
That's not what I'm saying. Okay, thank you.
He
We
did
spent a lot of time
include
walking in that one.
the plans were, as I understood, one of his larger elements was gonna be putting in a greenhouse, a
Yes.
good-sized greenhouse,
Yes.
and perhaps mushrooms in the
Yes,
garage
yes.
area.
And as I said, in his business plan, it's will, and that's great. And I encourage him to do that. And I do have contact with him outside of farming. And I encourage him to do it. And I said, it's not really there yet for me to feel comfortable to include you.
to your comments, he's the head of, he revived, I guess, and it's.
He's in the process, he's the president, and he's in the process of revising it.
Yeah,
He's working really hard with that.
So how do you differentiate then between what she read about being a startup and not having it actually up and running? But he's got the education clearly, expertise, all of that. He has things, I wasn't there, but he has space that he showed you guys. So where do you draw,
Because
where do
about
you
a
draw the?
dozen fruit trees, maybe a dozen tops
Mhm.
fruit trees. They're just planted fruit trees. So, and his vegetables are in
A couple of raised
a
beds,
couple of raised beds. It's not,
not even as big as this.
yeah, it's not, I mean, the production. He had mentioned that he wants to do this so he can put a greenhouse in the property. But he still, we explained to him, he still has to meet town zoning code. Because he thought that if he got in the ag district, he could just put up this greenhouse. So I think like Christine said, and he even said the same thing, he knows he's definitely on his way there, but he's not a viable farm operation.
It's, we need to distinguish between hobby, which is just for personal use, and commercial. Commercial, again, doesn't mean millions of dollars in revenue. Commercial just means that sales are coming in.
But that's where I'm torn, because you've got the literature that says it doesn't have to be happening yet. It's got to have a plan and being started, and he seems like he's started. So that's where I want to be sure
You also have to
we're
look
looking at it
at
correctly.
his plans to make sure that it can reach the level of sales. It could be a startup, but the scope of it also. Can he reach the level of selling to businesses?
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So, ag district is to protect farms from the public and from towns' harsh practices. So if a farm that's in the ag district goes to their town and asks for a variance to put the fence closer to their property line because they need that area for grazing, and the town keeps telling no, and they exhaust all their appeals, then they go to New York State Ags and Markets. And New York State Ags and Markets, just because they're in our district, will not defend them unless they then meet specific criteria, depending upon what they're growing. So like for horses, it would have to be X amount of acres, X amount of horses, X amount of income. And if you go to the state and you don't meet the criteria, the state's gonna say, sorry, we can't help you. Meet the criteria and then come back with your complaint. So that's another thing. We can allow them in the district, but they wouldn't be under the protection of New York State, which is the purpose of the district. They wouldn't be under the protection of New York State Ags and Markets if they don't fulfill the criteria.
And one of the other big criteria, reasons to have an ag district is to protect the land from being developed. This is already in a residential subdivision, so it's not going to be further developed. So that's one of the.
So I encouraged him when he asked me about it before the end of the April 30th. I encouraged him to apply. I said, it doesn't hurt to apply. You'll learn what you need. If you don't get in, you'll learn what you need to do to get in. So I knew that it was small, and from what he told me, I didn't visit it until we actually went to visit it. But so that's Clara Patonga.
Can I add additional comment?
Sure.
Trish, to get to your point, it is subjective. You are supposed to take into consideration the intent and the background of the person. Like, I were to throw together a plan and be like, I'm gonna do all these things. Do you think I can actually carry that out? Like, I don't know. I don't have a bachelor's in agriculture. I don't have experience working on an organic farm. So would I be able to carry that out? That's for you guys, probably not. But like, the question is whether or not you believe that the owner of Clara Patunga Farm would be able to carry out this plan. Startups are supposed to be considered for Ag District, even if they are not currently at that level of commercial enterprise. I'm also just looking at thank you for that, the business plan that I also have in front of me. I think to Christine's point, there's a lot of things that are already in the ground, but they're not quite there yet. I agree, the raised beds, that's for
That's probably.
barely 2 people to
Yeah.
feed. I do think, it talks about selling to local restaurants, participating in farmers markets, all of those things can happen still as a startup farm.
Mhm.
All of those things, those relationships can be built as a startup farm. You can still you're right, so you can still meet those requirements and still be growing. I guess I just want to see that actually happening. That's all.
He said he had a lot of contacts in culinary realm.
Is he selling to
That's nice extension.
So I think you would still fall under a startup farm, even if you were selling to restaurants at the state that his farm is in currently. So I guess I think it's sort of a wait and see at this point.
Okay, there's no more discussion, let's vote. I'm gonna go backwards now, okay, Erin?
You can do me first. I'll go, Dave. No, Dave.
I got abstained from this one.
Elizabeth?
I am on the fence and I'll fall on the side of an Ag District.
So is that yes or no?
That's a yes.
Okay. Fred?
No.
Jody?
No.
Nicole?
Can we come back to
Yeah.
me? So,
Me, I'm a no. Trish?
Yes.
Barbara?
No.
Ruby?
No.
Erin?
I am going to make a comment and say that I appreciate all the work and all of the effort and education, but I do think that we need to wait maybe another year. I'm gonna yield on the side of no on this one.
No. So 2 yeses and 7 noes and 1
And
abstention.
we have to go back to something, right?
Sorry?
We should go back to something.
Sparky did. So he is not recommended to be included this year, but we encourage him to apply next year.
and with that, I guess like once the next application comes in, like that's when we do the follow-up. I'm just thinking about how to support someone through the next year, to make sure they're ready for that point.
So my thoughts on that is for another meeting.
Yeah, okay.
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 Okay, next we have Mother-Daughter Farm. That is located on Tammany Hall Road in Patterson. They are on 15.5 acres. It says he farms 6 acres. He buys slips of fruit trees and arborvitaes and grows them out and sells them privately to contacts he has in Westchester. He wants to do sheep and goats with alpacas and chicken and ducks for eggs and meat. He wants to build a small hoop house, wants to build a hoop house for small plant growth. It says here firewood sales and maple syrup, collection, processing and sales. I don't remember him talking about. Perhaps someone else can fill me in on that. So we went and visited this guy last year, and in my opinion, I don't remember if we denied him or passed him last year. We did not. Okay, so last year he was denied, and it doesn't look like he's done, in my opinion, I visited the site last year and this year. In my opinion, it looks like he has a little less product than he did last year.
A lot less product.
A lot less? Did you get a chance to check or no?
So we went and, he literally looks like,
He just planted them.
They were just planted.
The 2 weeks of the.
and literally one was falling over and he ran back up there and stuffed it back in. And it looked like it was just set up for
He
the
actually,
visit.
he actually said that he went upstate and purchased them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's selling them in a month down in the.
So he basically buys things, plants them in the ground, for a couple of weeks and then pulls them back out and sells
So I
them.
don't
And
think
I
he
just don't
normally
think that.
actually.
I don't think he normally plants in the
Some-
ground.
yeah.
This is the buckets, right?
Yeah.
And then he had it
Yeah.
on the back.
You
of the
went there,
truck.
you went there last year, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's the same, except for there's less stuff there. than there
Oh,
was
we were
last
hoping to see it go into the ground last year and maybe,
Saw last year.
yeah.
I think he's
Yeah.
basically purchasing.
And
He
then.
had, remember he had little arborvitae's.
Yeah.
And then he had the trees in the buckets on the trailer. He still has the same trees in the buckets in the trailer. And
He's
there's
buying
no
it.
way, there's no way he's doing 6 acres of anything there.
This is the guy who just wanted to clear trees.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I get the feeling that he wants to be in the ag district, so he can thumb his nose at town.
And I know you didn't want us to consider it, but the town did object to this for the reasons of him having issues with clearing in the past.
If, in my opinion, if the fruit trees that were in the buckets last year were planted in the ground this year when we got there, I would be more apt to consider it, but as I said, and Fred backs me up, that it's less is done, less has been done.
And he did say he was gonna put the fruit trees in the ground last year.
Right, but he did.
Yeah, but
There were a few fruit trees, but there's no plan for letting them grow.
Yeah, we
and
asked that on
rotating.
vacation.
Selling. It was really just getting them upstate and then reselling them down in the city.
Which could be a whole business by itself, but
It's not.
It's not farming, it's buy and flip. Sorry.
which again, could be a business.
It's a
And
business, but it's
business.
not, I don't feel like.
I
we
don't think it meets our standards
Yeah,
and
nothing's
you asked
infringing
him,
enough to be. I don't know.
right, you asked him for Schedule F documentation. We have no,
Did he ever send it to anybody?
I assume not. So we don't have any income documentation. I don't think that he,
Which if he's buying and selling, then he should have that, right?
And I asked him that, I said,
Right.
I'm sure you supplied the board with all of your income earnings, and he's like, oh, yeah. I don't think he did. I mean, I didn't see him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start in the middle. I'm gonna go first. So I say no, and then we're gonna go to Nicole.
No.
Joni? Yeah. Fred?
no,
Elizabeth?
No.
Dave?
No.
Erin?
No.
Ruby?
no,
Barbara?
No.
And Trish?
No.
Okay, so it's unanimous. We're not gonna recommend that he be included in that. Okay, now we're at Big Red Barn Farm.
Yeah. we have plenty of time.
Don't jinx it.
I think it's gonna-
Thank goodness. Big Red Barn Farm. This is Joey Mancuso. She has 67 acres in Putt Valley. She has goats. I believe that she's going to bring in more for dairy and to do some like goat milk soap or something like that. I think that's what she said. And she has a horse boarding business.
I was standing on the hood of the car when I was there.
Is it an existing horse boarding? Or is it new? Is this?
Well, she's been in operation for several years.
How many horses?
10. And,
We saw them.
she signed.
There you go. They opened the door.
So when you have,
Same one.
but when you have a boarding operation, you have, boarders that leave and then boarders that come. So you do have empty stalls. So you don't have to have 10 when we visit, but she has to be able to prove to us that during the calendar year, she has had 10, like she could have had 15 different horses. They come for a couple months and then they leave. So as long as there were 10 within a calendar year that came and stayed and paid her board and then left, it satisfies, yes, it satisfies it.
So last year, we didn't go, she was just starting up. So she only had her horses on the.
No, she had 2,
She had 2 horses of her own.
Right.
And she was starting, she was building the stall.
She had 7 horses.
So when I went, I went with the first one, there was more than one.
Yeah, no, I thought she had 7.
She,
She didn't have.
She has been developing it. It sounds like she's.
Yeah, she.
And Putnam Valley is in very big support of her and
Yes.
her operation.
Yes.
I know she's worked very hard to do what she needed to do over the last year.
My point was she's come a long way.
Yes, absolutely.
She's an anesthesiologist that works in Westchester.
Got it.
So she has a bar manager that's basically there from breakfast till dinner for the horses. She included her projected income for 2025. And it definitely makes sense. She's right on, trails. It's not a traditional barn where you have a center aisleway or you have, shed row barns. She has a bunch of outbuildings and she's put stalls into the outbuildings. She doesn't cater to big show people. She caters to people who just want to be with their horses and go trail riding. And this is the perfect barn. Plus her board is very reasonable for people who do that.
She wanted to build,
The writing.
the riding ring
Yeah.
too, right, which I think she'll be able to do if she does get the inclusion.
Yes, because the permits are
And
really
very
prohibitive,
expensive,
right?
yes, and yeah,
Crazy expensive.
yes, so I think she's put a substantial amount of effort into it over the last year. I may have stopped her a couple times and driven by.
Okay, everybody can we just get to the vote? Everyone
Yeah.
good with that? Okay, let's start with Barbara.
Yes.
Ruby,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Trish,
Yes.
I'm a yes also. Nicole,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes.
Bryce, Elizabeth, yes, Dave.
Yes.
Okay, so she was unanimously recommended to be included in the application. Then she'll be able to get her ring started and. There's two left.
Better.
Yeah, go take a bathroom break. Let's get.
A standing break.
Yes, let's take a little.
And you have to leave 2 minutes. So.
I think it's on it.
Two.
Oh, fantastic.
So even though they're at the bathroom, I would just like to say thank you to Barbara for, I don't know how, submitting something to ask for the grant, and then you got approved to ask for the grant, is that
To apply.
to apply?
Yeah.
And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for going to the meeting and asking for permission to apply.
So has to go through audit and now, Christine, supposed to go through audit and Nicole.
Right, but she did go to the meeting to ask for it.
It does not.
You sure? For the 10,000?
No, it's in my budget.
Oh, it's already in your budget. Oh, you just moved it out. Oh, you're moving it. It's a line item. Okay, so that's with Nicole.
Thank you for doing that, and then you also forwarded to me, communication between you and New York State Ags, and they told you how to do it, and thank you for getting that rolling.
So, I mean, I write a lot of grants. I can do it on my own, but I would like inputs. Maybe next meeting we can add it to the agenda because it does have specifics that they want, what people want to see in the revision. As far as, so they want it laid out, like a plan for, how we're revising the current.
Okay, so let's start with Rainmaker. Oh, sorry. I thought I saw two people watching.
And who, with these last two, can we say who saw the farm, just so I can, so I get aware of.
I did.
All right, a lot, yeah, I didn't go to these two.
Just because you have to have some desk made.
Well, but that's one of the reasons, and I have village billing going on, and the tax maps came in and had to be, so.
Tristan, you maybe.
You came to the.
Oh, which one did I go to?
Rainmaker East.
I did go to Rainmaker?
Yeah, just towards the
Well,
end.
if anything, every now and then I look at my calendar.
That's right, yes, you commission said,
No
yeah.
building.
Okay, oh, that's
That's not building each other in itself.
that's your fella. I like him.
You saw.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
He said he didn't go to any, so he don't.
Dave.
Yeah, said he didn't.
There.
I very clearly stated my vacation schedule that I take twice a year away from my 4 children.
Yes, and we're all jealous that you went on vacation, so it's.
That's right.
And I think yesterday we had concussion and 3 stitches, so, and the floor was pink eye when I was on vacation, so don't be that jealous. And I got to play with all kinds of animals when I was away.
Would have been more fun to look at farm.
I told Ruby that. I was very excited to share that with her.
Okay, so we're up to Rainmaker Farm. They are located on, Federal Hill Road in Brewster. So Harold Lepler, he owned a farm before, this is Rainmaker East. He owned regular Rainmaker, which is on Joe's Hill Road, and he sold it a couple of years ago. And then he bought land where he is now. He is pretty well known in the horse community. He does breeding, and he, some of the horses that he's bred are pretty well known in the reining world, hence Rainmaker. And so he is, the property that he owns now, he wants to put up a barn and paddocks and just concentrate on breeding and no longer have any boarding horses. Just wants to have his own horses. So that you know how the breeding world works is if you have a brood mare, you send her to the stallion, or sometimes it's an artificial insemination, you still send her to get pregnant. Once she is determined to be pregnant and there's a heartbeat, then she can come home, and then she can stay with you for a few months while you give her proper nutrition and exercise and all that. And then most people, because they're not really well trained in foaling, they'll send the mare out about a month before she's due to a foaling place. They'll do the foaling, they'll do the weaning, which is the separating, and then the mare will usually come home, and the foal will either be sent to be trained or can be sold as a foal. There's lots of things that
Can I ask this
can happen.
question?
No silly questions, they're all good.
How long now was this pregnant for?
345 days, almost 11 months. Some
How-
have said
And is it,
one,
Just one.
you don't want to.
I just want, I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask those questions. Okay.
You were 3, so 1 should be.
I wasn't pregnant for 300 and something days. Although it felt like it. I mean, you grew 5.
So the site visit included a visit to, he's also building his house on the property, which is totally acceptable and all that. My concern is that he has a cleared area for the barn, but there's no building going on. He has a cleared area for the paddocks, but there are no fences. There's no water to the paddocks. I don't doubt that he's gonna do what he says. I have a family member that has a relationship with him. He used to keep his horse at Harold's place. I have no doubt that he's gonna do what he says. He's also, you know him pretty well too, don't you?
He is a local developer that I've worked with quite a bit.
Do you have doubts that he's gonna do it?
No.
No, he has the money
Yes, I know.
and the ability, like I asked him about, well, where are you clearing? So he pointed like right in front of us, and I'm like, and he goes, I go, how long is it gonna take you to do that? He goes, and he's very funny, and he liked to get funny, and he's like, when I'm ready to do it, 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he just, you could just tell, he,
Even
whatever.
when we were visiting, it was raining, it was mud everywhere. His builder was there, and he asked, and I asked, well, when is construction starting on the barn? So he yelled over to him, and he's like, Monday. So, I mean,
Yeah. And how
So-
quick he's built his house. He started October, November, and it's already almost done. So I don't think that there's any doubt.
But there's nothing
Along the
there.
same, so along the same lines of the other firm that we discussed, right? Like there's intention, and I don't doubt his ability and capabilities. But I think it would be unfair
I
to
agree.
personally, I think it would be unfair to not vote for the other farm that is a startup farm and this being kind of in the same arena.
but he already, he has the horses, they're on another property,
But then,
But they're not there, just like we had with Rick on.
His house is a long,
everything.
his house is a long way from being finished. He was just getting electrical. He's got months worth before that house is finished. He may have a good contractor, but he still has months worth. And then his barn isn't even started yet.
Right.
So he's not even,
It's like no footings,
He's
it's
not-
nothing.
and I'm the same way. I 100% feel that he's gonna do it.
Well, and then another thing that he did tell us is he doesn't keep his horses in the barn. He has them out in the fields most of the time.
Well, if they go out in the morning and then they come in at night, so they're out most of the
He said
day.
he keeps them, he has individual sheds in each of
Yeah,
these.
he's gonna put run-in sheds in the paddocks.
He doesn't bring them into
But he doesn't have any.
Yes, it doesn't have- It's perfectly,
Yeah.
it's perfectly acceptable. The horses live outside too.
Yeah.
That's perfectly acceptable, but there's nothing, there's no infrastructure there.
Right.
There's not, he doesn't even have like an electric fence and a horse in the middle of it. He doesn't even have one hoof on the plant, on the property. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Is there anything in what he said he wanted to do in the next year that he's not permitted to do before he's in the ag district?
No.
No, he follows the rules to the T. He's not going to,
He's a developer, he knows what.
he knows exactly what to do and who to contact.
Yeah, this seems premature.
Yeah.
And there is no doubt that he's gonna do it, but he's nowhere near ready.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I found it kind of curious that his plan is to walk his horses from a barn over here to a field over there.
That's
That
okay.
seems very,
He's not going to keep them.
yeah, but you know, you need the barn if they're ill or something, I'm like, you gotta get them from way over there.
If you saw his other farm, it is quite a distance, because I actually drove by his other farm on the way to the site visit, and it is quite a distance where he used to take the horses to wherever he had to take them.
Yeah,
It
he's
was
quite
quite a distance.
comfortable in
And
walking.
you can see, he took us all over the place.
Yes.
And not once did he go, like we were doing.
Yeah.
They're horses, they'll move.
Yeah.
The horses are made to move.
Yeah, it is far, but that's normal.
Yeah, I think his previous properties were in the ag district, so this seems like the natural step for him, but I don't think he's quite ready. Next year.
Yes. Okay, let's look this. We are doing. Rainmaker. Okay, Erin,
Yeah, no. I believe you will do everything he said he's going to do, but I'm gonna stand by what I said before earlier about the other farm and be. Yes, consistent.
Ruby,
No.
Barbara,
No.
Trish?
No, being inconsistent, because I think the other one had enough started and just needs to grow. This one has nothing yet, so I'll say no.
So no. Nicole,
No.
Joni?
No.
Right?
No.
Elizabeth?
I'm gonna stand out and stand with my other startup farm and say yes. I think he has a track record. I think that he has intention and ability. So,
And Dave?
No.
I'm also just throwing out there that he's a breeding operation, not boarding
Yes.
for next year conversation.
Right. Okay, so we have, except for one, we decided not to recommend him to be included. Okay. Barn dog. Who visited this site? Okay, Trish, you didn't get to go there?
I don't think so.
That's okay. So I did also. So this is a rather large parcel with a lot of infrastructure on it. And part of it, so they claim that they have 5 acres that they're growing hay on, and then they have 50, a little bit over 60 acres for the rest of the farm. It's in the process of being built. As it stands now, it is not viable to put, it's not safe to put a horse on it. The stalls they don't have any horses there. The stalls have no fronts. A lot of them don't have the footing in yet with the mats. It says commercial boarding stable and haying operation. They have been approved for 42 stalls, which is fine. It is incomplete. They said that they should be ready at the end of July. So the owner's name is Wendy. Wendy has other farms. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Sorry.
Wendy has other horse farms in different areas as well as hay farms. She mentioned Dover as a really big farm where she does a lot of hay. They travel to Wellington for the winter to show in Wellington for the winter, and then they move back up here. And she said that her daughter has 12 horses. Her daughter owns 12 horses that she shows. She did say when I was there before, that they were going to have additional boarders. However,
We, when we went there, you were there, and you were there, Betsy. She was kind of, I knew her then, Nicole, she was kind of on the fence about the borders, it seemed to me. When she was talking to us, she was like, yeah, I have the 12 horses, but I don't know what we're really gonna do with the borders.
Yeah, but then she doesn't have a clear plan.
She has proof
Yeah,
that she has.
that's what-
Was looking for a Olympian
No.
trainer.
Right, she's like
She
searching.
was looking for a
So,
trainer
but
to bring in.
but she told us that she wasn't bringing in a trainer. Which is,
Yeah, we had I feel like a long discussion around that and they were telling us how, like, that's what you do, that's how you attract folks to fill all
so when they
42 stalls.
when they applied in the application, they wrote in here that it's gonna be more, they didn't use the word low key, but they said how there's a need in the area for there's a need in the area for, there's an unfulfilled demand for horse boarding in the area for pleasure riders wanting access to horse trails. However, they put a big, huge boulder where the horse trails meet their property.
Well, they did because they're under construction.
That's not what he said.
She's like,
That's not what
he
he
said
said.
they've been, that's what he said to me, that they, because I said, I said something about it. He said, well, people have been trespassing. They're under
Okay.
construction. It makes sense that they don't.
Well,
want
that's
to
not,
bother them.
but he said that we'll think about in the future, letting the eyes people come across our property to get to the trail.
That he said he had it fenced so that they could go through.
No, he said they're thinking about it. Because the Northfield is one
They were quite.
They don't
connected to the
have,
trails.
they don't have
They told
checklists,
us
does it matter?
They told us they were connected to.
And that was one of the big selling
Yeah.
points.
But they're not, because they block the trail. So the trail, North Salem Bridle Trails is made up of mostly private land that North Salem Bridle Trails has an agreement with the landowners, and they carry insurance and they maintain the trail. So it's a corporation that maintains the trails, and you have to pay North Salem Bridle Trails to ride on the trails.
Right.
So the trails were on the property, but he put up a stone so that the
Mm-hmm.
people riding from the other part of the trails can't cross Wendy's property.
Ends
It
on.
doesn't end there. It keeps going.
Okay.
Yes, of course I said that. It keeps going. It goes all the way to Ives Farm and in that area too. Are you familiar with the North Salem Bridle Trail?
Probably I've been on some, never paid.
I guess the question to me is are they bringing in income?
Do they have the horses or any sort of farming going on there?
They have no horses.
Okay, so there's no equine farm and there's not 10 that are either
There's four.
boarded.
It is under
It's
construction.
under
It
major
is-
construction.
Major.
It is
Major.
major.
I've never seen construction like this in my life.
Does this still hold water that you have to have 10 horses either boarded or?
So they do have
Contracted?
hay operation.
Okay, so that was my question.
That's only on 5 acres and it's not even 5.
But
Beg to differ.
Is there a minimum of acreage?
the fields were already fenced. The stalls were there and they had finishing to do. It is going to go pretty quick. I mean, the bulk of it was built.
The bulk of it was built, this is, in my world, I'm in the horse world. in my world, really wealthy people like this lady, they go to Florida and they show in Florida for the winter. Then they come back up to the north and they have a home base, but then they go to the big shows in the Northeast and out in Michigan. This woman has, as she said, she has so much money that she doesn't need to put horses in that barn. I really feel that it's, until she gets boarders in there, it's gonna be a hobby farm for her daughter and some of her daughter's friends. There's not one hoof on the property right now.
Well, she owns a horse farm, large operation, 2 farms over in North Salem. She also purchased the original farm of the Rainier. So she owns that as well. So she has enough farm space that she doesn't need it for just her private. I
But
thought there was,
you just proved my point. She's got other farms. She doesn't need to put people,
she doesn't need us,
she doesn't need
to use
boarders.
it for,
Excuse me?
she doesn't need to use it for her private operation. She has a farm
Yes,
that she lives at.
We shouldn't be making decisions on assumptions.
Right.
No, it should be actuality.
Okay, so
and
there's
what's
no
going on.
horses there. There's not one horse, not one hoof there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Of hay. Because in my recollection, we have put farms in the ag district based just solely on their hay operation. So
Is she selling the
is
hay?
that a legitimate?
It's only 5 acres. They're only doing 5 acres, which is not.
You keep saying it's only 5 acres. What is there?
We had
minimum?
one
Does it
that
have
was-
to be 10?
So
Putnam Valley
if
had
she was
1.7.
adding that 5 acre parcel to hay operations elsewhere, then there's not a minimum.
I don't remember that she submitted.
Yeah. She sent me future plans.
So we don't
Is she
have.
currently selling hay?
Future financial.
Not out of
There's no current
Started
hay
last
operation.
year. No,
Okay.
hay was for last year, so I don't know if she.
Was she selling it or was she using it for her own feed for the other both? I mean,
It's only 5 acres. She's not.
Well, then it's a supportive measure, it's supportive land, it's supportive land to a already ag district business. In which case, like we said before, it's by the parcel, it's contributing,
I'm not debating the hay part.
but is that hay part enough?
No.
No.
So
Why?
those who
Then
didn't
why
know.
not?
There's no horses. She applied as a horse boarding operation.
Okay, she didn't apply as a hay.
No, hay is on here too.
It's on.
Okay,
But
so this has to be considered.
the most of the biggest part of it is the horse operation. And the builder said that we want to get in the ag district to prevent, in addition, he's like, I paid $65,000 in permit fees. And if I was in the ag district before this, I wouldn't have had to pay that. And I said, well, then you should have put up a small barn, got in the ag district, and then paid it.
Well, here's the
Don't
question.
complain to me, you pay about your permit fees.
The question is, she already, I mean, I'm also talking things through on this one. She already has properties that are in the ag district.
Yes.
But it's different than if you have cropland and you're
I know,
adding.
I know it, I know.
so with haying,
Right.
silly question. What are, because I'm learning and trying to learn the correct information, I will do my due diligence. But with haying, what exactly, if you should put in for both on her application, haying and equine, correct? So one can still bring her in. So with haying, how much hay do you have to produce? How much do you have to sell? What are the things that come into play with considering it with hay?
So with the amount of acreage she has there, it's only 5 acres, that doesn't produce a lot of, if she's gonna feed the horses that are there, there's not gonna be hardly anything left over to sell.
But there's no horses there.
Well, exactly.
And that's what it says.
Right, so that's why I'm asking just about.
Right now.
But the horses
We
will be
just
there
know
in
horses
September.
are coming in July.
Right, the horses will be there in
Right
July.
now, on a haying operation, listen, I'm trying to do my due diligence.
So you,
And
you
really understand this year. So just on a haying operation,
Yeah.
putting the equine part aside right now, because that's not ready. There aren't 10 hooves. There's enough hoof on the ground. I understand where you're coming from. I want to clearly understand and think this through. With a haying operation, what are your limitations when it comes to haying? What comes into play? You're still farming, correct? You're still farming. So it doesn't matter how much you're farming.
They said in conversation that they would be getting around 800 like small square bales, like pretty small bales,
Okay.
off that property.
Okay.
And sell them, at around $10 a bale. So I don't know if they actually submitted, documentation, for that, that's in there.
Well, I just asked for written information about what they said during our meeting, and yeah, she said 5 acres of hay producing 700 bales, $10 a bale, $7,000 twice a year is $14,000 a year.
But that hay, she told us, was gonna go to the barn that's there. So, well,
Whether it's done or done then.
just a minute, listen. So she can't sell her hay to herself. If the hay was, if the 5 acres was under a different corporation, that corporation, she could sell it to the barn, but it's all under one corporation. So if you're haying and it's gonna keep your barn for your feed costs down,
Has she already sold that amount of hay to others, not herself?
not from there.
She did last.
I think
year,
she did
so
last
told
year.
us Last
I thought she said that like it was the first year.
last
So
year.
it takes more than a year to get your field up and running.
There might have already been a hay operation.
She
also.
said that's one, right, they did.
Like, I think she bought it from.
Then that part I may have misunderstood it then.
So, and
That's
if
probably-
last year she had harvested hay on this property and put it into the venture that she horse boards, she is actually using that property to support the other properties' activities.
But we don't know that.
Well, that's what I'm understanding, that
Well-
they hated last year. Last year, they had a horse boarding activity on another property. So including this property into the district to support the first operation might be a legitimate request by itself.
That's 5 acres out of 60.
It could be 3
No,
acres. It could be
disagree with
3
you.
acres on another parcel supported. That's what we talked about before.
I think there have been, with this, I don't know which ones exactly, but there are parcels that have been included just for hay operation alone.
That's what I'm
Smaller
questioning on.
acreage.
Right, but they didn't.
So
apply.
that's what I'm not considering it at all right now on equine, right? I'm totally just looking at the haying part, and in my eyes, the equine. I'm
Do
sorry,
we get to add anything into the?
you can speak in public comment as long as it's through the chair.
Is
Is it about this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so aren't you adding individual parcels to the ag district?
So whatever they submit, so if they submit, like George Whipple last year submitted 3 with, I'm gonna go,
Right. You can't split up.
you can't split them, yeah.
Right.
You have to take what you get, what you put in.
Because it looks like there's 3 parcels and there was a 5 acre parcel. If that one parcel is being hayed, then that makes sense to be included, but.
So it overlapped. It was mostly that one parcel. So she showed us the area
That's a good point.
farms, which we actually.
Mhm.
And again,
That's
I'm,
not just for the daughter.
No,
As far as.
Trish,
So
I have to disagree with you.
Yeah.
You're not in the horse world.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a scary world.
It is.
So is the
Build all that. Her daughter's 12.
This
millionaires.
lady is loaded.
So.
Where's the hand?
So this parcel, this area was being, it was
Stonewall
down into here. So it was, all of this was being hayed.
So to
It's
me,
overlapped. What's in that middle parcel there?
This
Is
was
it all the same, it's all the same,
This is corn.
is it all the same piece of property?
so
So it's
hay
three
is
different,
three pieces.
no, it's only on 5 acres.
She's all, okay,
It's-
she's
but
asking
we're
for
talking
3
about-
pieces of property.
3 pieces of property. One piece is 5 acres that they're haying.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
And the other 2 pieces, which add up to 60,
because
add up to 60.
you can't do that, you can't, it's with whatever they put in, you can't.
Can't just-
We do.
We can't get applications, 3 applications.
I think that might be last year. Like 2 didn't meet
I didn't know they said.
based off of.
3 applications says 3,
Right,
but you can't give 1 because they didn't
Right.
ask for that. If they
Right.
did 3 applications, we could approve all 3.
or one or two or the other.
Correct.
Yeah, so if they had just put the one in,
I think he can unmute himself. He's muted himself.
who?
Irvin, is-
Oh, he's here?
he's here.
Hi, I didn't know he was here
It's-
anymore.
They already have a farm, so I literally thought Lepler's farm, and Lepler should have automatically gotten in because he already has a farm, and it would just be an additional farm to his current operation. But it sounds like this person actually owns Lepler's farm, so it was correct to not let Lepler in. But this person, it's just, they already have an agricultural operation that's active in the county, so it makes no sense. It's just an add-on.
It's,
Yeah.
no, it's a separate entity. It's a totally separate entity. And
Matter if
it doesn't
it can
have
be a different
horses
or
on it.
anything as long as it's being used by the same farmer, it's not a big deal to just add on the property.
Yeah, that's if you are doing, farming, not horse farming.
But she
That's what I was told.
has the hay. All right,
But the hay is a minuscule amount of the land. So
It doesn't matter. It could be hay. She could be using it as paddocks and just grass. It's still, they're already a farmer in the district. There's no reason to even think about this one. It's really just an add-on to the current operation.
well, I'm gonna disagree with you and do some more research, but we're gonna vote.
So hold on a second. Erwin, so like the other properties, when you can have an ag district can include in a non-owned, can you put somebody else's property in the ag district if you're renting or using it exclusively?
Yeah, so renting counts. That's the thing. So anyone could just make up a contract tomorrow for $1 and say I'm renting it. So that's why it doesn't really make a difference whether it's a different corporation or not. So all you basically have to say is this person already a valid farmer in the state? And it's anywhere in the state. It's non-contiguous. So if they're a valid farmer in the state and this is supporting the same type of operation, it's just an automatic in.
Sounds
Well,
good to me.
It's not what
Sounds consistent.
I,
That sounds consistent with other additions.
Property of mine.
It sounds like last year we did that. We tried, there was somebody that was doing something in Garrison and they had a farm in Southeast and we included them in the ag district last year, from what I can remember, and Irvin can correct me if
That
I'm
was
wrong.
that was Whipple. We
Yeah,
did
that
it,
was
we
Whipple.
did it. We, as a board, suggested or
Yes.
advised, yes,
Said yes.
but because the soil, I know
Right.
this is
Yeah.
the bad word, doesn't count anymore. Disclaimer, but because one of his parcels would have met the
I
soil.
was just using that as an example because he had a viable farm and he owned this property over here and he was connecting that as part of his farm.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
And they are
The same thing.
The hay's already been connection. They didn't have any horses last year, but they harvested hay, so it's part of their operation. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Aaron,
Sounds good to me.
I'm gonna say yes.
Ruby?
Yeah.
Barbara?
Yes.
Trish?
Yes.
I say no. Nicole?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Fred?
No.
Elizabeth? Yes. And Dave?
Yes.
Okay, it's 2 no, so it will be recommended for inclusion in ag district. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your site visits. It's appreciated. Someone make a motion to adjourn, so those of us who need to go can go.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Fred, thank you. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed.